Saleable entity is a scalable entity because if you're ready to be bought, then you're also ready for an MD to come in, and so it just gives you choices whether you choose to sell or not.
Hello and welcome to Brand Tuned, a podcast on brand management that covers trademarks and IP as they're intrinsic to brand equity. I'm your host, Shireen Smith, author of Brand Tuned. Writing this led to Byron Sharp's evidence-based research stressing distinctiveness over differentiation, which I largely agree with, though not totally. Hence our tagline, Sharp Branding. Bryony Thomas is one of the UK's foremost marketing thinkers and author of a groundbreaking best-selling book, Watertight Marketing. Her articles regularly appear in the business press. There's more information about her background and business journey in the episode itself, as I began by asking Bryony about her own business journey and how she branded her business. In this episode, the discussion focuses on the U element of the tuned framework, understanding your market, except there's an interesting twist because Bryony discusses how to approach that when looking to increase the price of your business if you're looking to exit. We also cover the E and D elements of tuned, establish and drive your brand strategy during the discussion about Bryony's watertight marketing methodology. Enjoy. Hello, Bryony. Welcome to the Brand Tuned podcast. When you first started out in business, how did you deal with your own branding? I wonder if you could tell us a bit more about what you do and how that all started.
Yes. Hi, Shireen. Fantastic to be here. I'm delighted to be a guest with you today. You've got some really interesting questions. So when I first started out in my own business, it was 2008, and I originally set up simply as a time for money consultant. And I took some time to speak to people that I had worked with in my corporate career over 12 years or so, and I kind of asked them what summed me up, what was their lasting impression of what it was like to work with Bryony. And there were some themes that came through. So I got to kind of three phrases, which was clear thinking, smart talking, get stuff done. So clear thinking, smart talking, get stuff done. So we came to the name Clear Thought Consulting, which said something about who I am and how I approach things. But then interestingly, 3 years into the business, we were, myself and an associate at the time, were turning business down. For every one person that we could work with, we were turning away 3 that we didn't have capacity for. We're, significantly in demand, and so I was having all the same conversations and drawing the same pictures. So I thought I'd write it down, and that's where the Watertight Marketing book was born. And then I needed to make the business brand sit comfortably with the book. And I had in mind a certification program for other independent consultants to use the materials. And so I needed to bring it all together. And so the business was renamed Watertight Marketing in 2011, 2012, somewhere around there.
Okay, so, and you've stayed with that name ever since?
Yes.
Have you trademarked the name as a matter of interest?
Indeed, I have. You
have, so... And you hadn't trademarked the previous name, Clear Thought?
No, I hadn't. And that's because in the prior iteration of the business, I had no intention to scale. And so it was very much a lifestyle consultancy business. Whereas when I was moving into Watertight Marketing, publishing the book, thinking about a licensing model, I knew that it was a much bigger undertaking, and particularly with licensing, part of what they're licensing are the trademarks that we own. And so it was integral to the business model that I had a really good handle, not only on my intellectual property rights, but on the trademarks that I own and the way that we go to market.
Okay, and what is your brand promise, I guess? What do you stand for in terms of the sort of business you run?
I don't have a one-liner for that,
Mhm.
because it would depend very much on the audiences, the different audiences that we work with. Watertight marketing as a methodology makes you kind of turn your marketing inside out, upside down, rewires your brain, helps you to make confident decisions about marketing that supports healthy sales flow. The one liner, if I do have one, is that we stop people wasting money on marketing. So we help people to think clearly, to make confident decisions, so that none of the time or the money or the energy that they put into their marketing is wasted.
Right. So, what size of business did you work with before you actually started your own business? What?
I was the director of marketing with Experian Marketing Services in the UK. So Experian are a FTSE 100 company. I was director of marketing within a division there at the age of 28. Prior to that, I'd had a marketing agency career. I was account director on Microsoft, running all the small business marketing for Microsoft across the UK.
Okay, so how was brand management dealt with in those sort of companies? It's a matter of interest.
So interestingly, most of my roles have been based on marketing operations, and specifically marketing that supports sales results. And therefore, the straight line return from brand to bottom line sales is that it's very often not a straight line, because brand is an aggregation. It builds reputation over time. You can't say that this investment in brand created that these sales here with these clients. It's not usually a straight line. And so my background in with marketing has mainly been marketing that supports sales results. However, in the business I was in directly prior to joining Experian, the way I joined Experian is that the business I was in was bought. And when I joined that business, a smaller business who was looking to be acquired and planning for an exit, one of the briefs to me in joining that business was to make them look expensive, because they were going for exit. And so there was a very different approach to brand creation and marketing when we were going for exit, because it wasn't, of course, we needed to generate sales of what we were doing and show a good, healthy bottom line. But we also needed to look attractive to the sort of businesses that might buy us. And that was people like Experian and Axiom were also on our list of people that might acquire us. And so actually we characterized the people in those organizations who would be looking for good acquisition targets, and thought, how are we going to get on radar with them? And so there was quite a lot of what I did within Clarity Blue that had nothing to do with generating bottom line sales. It had everything to do with showing up on radar of the head of acquisitions within these organizations that we had identified as potential acquirers.
That's really interesting. Yes, I have heard that when a business wants to exit, you need to try and create some competition. Do you help people to prepare for exit, and how do you do
Yes.
it?
Well, yes, and in two ways. So if I give you a really practical example of the difference between marketing for organic sales results and marketing for increasing a sales price. So the marketing for sales results, you need a systemized way that you can point at to an acquiring company to say, this is how we make sales, this is why it's scalable, this is the system that we have that is an asset of the organization, and that becomes acquirable. But you also do the sorts of things that wouldn't generate a sales return. And a classic example of that might be something like award sponsorship. Or so we at Clarity Blue, we spent quite a lot of money in the lead up to exit on things that we knew would never generate sales results, but it put our logo alongside the logos of our potential acquirers. So I would look at what they were sponsoring, and we would sponsor it too. And we would do things like we advertised, we had a look at where they were advertising, and we followed them around a bit. It's wholly different. And PR, so we worked on PR to get us in the business pages. Now, getting in the business pages was never going to find us clients for predictive analytics, but getting in the business pages would get us on radar with the potential acquirer. So it's you just put yourself in the mind of the person potentially acquiring the business, and you create a marketing plan for them.
So did you have several different businesses in mind to
potential acquirers? Yeah, we had 6. We had identified 6 organizations where clearly they made acquisitions from time to time. We would fit within their portfolio. And so we took time to understand their brand, their values, the way that they worked with clients to make ourselves attractive as an acquisition prospect.
That's interesting. And what happened to the brand of the business after it was acquired? Did they use it, or did they?
They did for a transition period, but no, it was subsumed. We knew that would happen. Quite a lot of what we did in the lead up, although we were absolutely making our brand valuable in and of itself, we needed to make sure that there was enough crossover between us and a potential acquirer that would make transitionary process as smooth as possible.
Right. So how do you actually go about doing research, to identify your ideal customer or somebody who might purchase the business? How would you go about doing that?
So most MDs that I've worked with who are looking for exit have got a pretty good idea of who they would want to buy them. And often it's because they bump into them on at pitches, that they are the so we certainly became the bar by which others were measured. So we were the Clarity Blue, which is the organization I'm talking about, were very good at what we did, and we were on every tender list and we were on every pitch list, and the companies that were looking to acquire us were always losing to us. And so, what's one way of taking a competitor out the market? Well, you buy it, don't you? So you need to research those that have a similar market to you or offer complementary products to you. But you need to know that they are the sort of business that does acquire, and that's research you can do as to what acquisitions have been undertaken and at what value, to see whether they're likely to be open to that. And then you characterize the individuals within those organizations. So the head of acquisitions, the MD of a particular division. And we did some really innovative things. So we did things like buy outdoor advertising in the 10-mile radius around the home of the head of acquisitions of the businesses that we wanted to go on radar with. So they thought we were doing a UK-wide advertising. We weren't. We were advertising around their home.
Amazing. So how long does it take if you have a client who wants to prepare for exit? How long do you need to work with them to achieve their ends?
Depends on how far along the journey they are. So there's a client I'm working with at the moment who they're a 25 million turnover business. They've been in business for 20 odd years. And exit's coming into mind because the chief exec is of an age where he wants to be doing other things. They're 20 years down and they've got revenues of 25 million. They're doing all right. It's not like they're broken, or that we need to do massive fixing. And so it's for someone like that, the process, by the time they're chatting to me, they're reasonably, they know what their number is and they've got a good idea of who it is they want to buy them probably. And so it's 18 months. Whereas there are other organizations that I've worked with for whom exit was quite, it's a 5-10 year plan. They're going, we would like to get ourselves to be a saleable entity, systemizable, something that means that we don't always have to have our hands on the tiller. Because a saleable entity is a scalable entity, because if you're ready to be bought, then you're also ready for an MD to come in and so it just gives you choices whether you choose to sell or not. So the process that we take people through gets them to a position where they have a marketing system, which is an asset of the business, just like their contract value is an asset of the business. It's a system that resides within the organization, and so someone could come in and run that system. So it's a key part of an exit strategy, having something you can point at that says this is how we do marketing.
Presumably a business that's 5-10 years away from exit is going to need to do some brand marketing and some sort of short-term marketing to get sales. How do you manage that?
Yeah, so watertight marketing isn't it's not a short-term thing. So what we don't do is tricks and hacks and lead generating campaigns, and we don't do quick hits, we don't do quick fixes. It's just not what we do. When somebody's really putting the watertight marketing methodology into their business, they're committed to the process, and part of that process is assessing. So we have 2 key diagnostics, and out of those, it would emerge whether branding was a key issue. So if it was, then we would pull out all of our frameworks and tools around branding, and we would run them through that process.
So what are you doing for people then when you're helping them? Are you not trying to get leads for them? No.
Leads are the last thing that any marketing should ever do. So anyone who doesn't believe me, but go and read the book. So watertight marketing turns marketing entirely upside down, and there are usually significant foundational things that people need to put in place. And when they do put them in place, they find that they need far fewer leads anyway, because they convert more of the ones that they already have, particularly in established businesses. So no, we're not an agency. We help people to kind of rewire their brains. We give them a set of thinking tools so that everyone in the organization has a common language, has a set of frameworks. And so each time they're looking to make an investment in marketing, they can use our tools to sequence it. So in what order should we do these things? Someone's just had an idea. Do we need it? In what order should we do it? And then when they get to a given project, they can pull out our kind of frameworks and checklists and whatever for going through that, whatever's next on their list.
Can you give me a few examples of what you would put in place for them?
So we have a client at the moment who's at the stage where they're using our customer journey analysis process. So they're doing it's called a touch point leak assessment. And yes, touch point leaks is also trademarked. So they're doing a touch point leak assessment. And that is a two-stage set of research. So there's an internal research piece that goes across every member of the organization that gets to identify where the gaps are in their customer journey. There's then a set of tools that help them to come up with the ideas to fill those gaps, and then there's external research to ensure that those ideas are good ideas. And so what we've done with that client is, before we got started, we did a 4-week book club, pop-up book club. So everyone in the organization was sent a copy of Watertight Marketing. They read it, and then over a course of 4 weeks, there are 4 parts in the book, we had a book club with me where we discussed each of the 4 parts of the book. We then had the MD and the board join my 12-month program, and 2 of their team joined the Working Knowledge Apprenticeship, which licenses Watertight Marketing within it. So they now have 7 people who are going through a training process with us, training/guided implementation. And so they're all being trained on the frameworks and the tools, but they've also retained one of our licensed practitioners for 2 days a week, 2 days a month, who goes into their business and helps them to use what they've learned with me in that month. And so where they've got to in the process, we're 2 months in and they're doing their touchpoint leak assessment. And so I've taken them through how the framework works, I've shown them some worked examples. We have a diagnostic tool that they can play with to see how the process works. And now our certified practitioner is working with them to run that research across their whole organisation.
Okay, I was reading a book about customer journeys and the peak end rule, so that you try and finish a relationship always on a high. So is that the sort of thing you would help somebody to implement as part of looking at their customer journey? I'm just trying to understand it a bit more.
It's so watertight marketing is not something that can be expressed easily in a pithy sentence. It's because it is a whole end-to-end methodology with over 100 different frameworks. With it's like a set of Russian dolls.
All interconnects.
Yeah, they all interconnect, and you pick up one and you open up the Russian dolls, and in there's a whole set of other routes that you could go on. I'm finding the question difficult to answer because the model that you've just explained isn't my model. So no, I don't help people with that. I help people. So I have a model called the logic sandwich, which probably talks to one of the same principles, which is that you move somebody towards an outcome, and you play back to them that they've reached that outcome and that you've delivered on the promise that was set out at the beginning of their buying journey.
I think managing expectations is really important. And so how would you understand what the customer is expecting so that you can be sure to meet it?
Well, so I believe that my definition of marketing, sales generating marketing, that is that marketing is there to support somebody through to a buying decision with which they remain happy, even if that's not to buy from you. And so what you would do through a buying journey is, first of all, understand somebody's expectations. And if those are expectations on which you cannot deliver, then you do not sell them anything. So you never overpromise. You don't sell to anybody for whom you cannot deliver phenomenal benefit. And if they would genuinely be better off doing something else, then you direct them to that. And so expectation management in that context becomes fairly straightforward, because you only ever sell to people that by virtue of the journey that they've been on and the conversations you've had and the tools that they've interacted with, that you can deliver.
Right. So what you give people as deliverables at the end, if you're working with them to eventually sell their business, is have a good marketing system in place.
Yes, a functioning marketing operation. Yeah.
And they can then operate it without help or...
Yes. I often describe it as a bit like the overseas development approach to marketing. So our certified practitioners will always seek to make themselves redundant. So we would typically work with someone for somewhere between 12 to 18 months, and at about 50 to 75% through that journey, they would help the organisation to recruit and run the system that has been built. So we're not there, we're not an agency. We don't do retainers. We get a marketing operation set up. We show you how to run it. We bring the thinking so that people can make good strategic marketing decisions. And then, we plug that all in and then help you recruit the people who would then run it on an ongoing basis.
So would any good business have such a system in place automatically? Not necessarily your process, but...
No, they really don't. And you can run a perfectly good business without one. It's just harder work. I've been doing a review recently of some of the clients that have got the most from watertight marketing. So if I were to separate out the 10% of people who have exceptional value, that it's worlds beyond what we thought or what they thought. So I thought that would be an interesting line of thought for me to look at recently when I've been doing a review. And so I've looked at those, and these are people, so as an interior office interiors company that we worked with, who have gone from 20 million turnover to 40 million turnover during COVID by implementing watertight marketing. And when I look at them and I look at other similar organizations that have had, really transformational impact, what's the common denominator? They've all been in business for more than 10 years. They've all got a bloody good product. They're good at what they do. They've got a good reputation. And they usually have a sales force of some kind. They're usually subject matter expert sales force, so that they are experts in whatever it is the company does. So they're doing everything on skill. They're doing everything on sales skill. They're winning each client individually. And so what Watertight then does is underpin that sales skill with marketing tools and systems, so that you're not starting from a blank sheet of paper. And if that person, the person with the phenomenal skill and the brilliant relationships within your industry were to leave, you could plug somebody else in and they would be almost as effective.
Okay, that's interesting. So which company do you particularly admire for doing it well, I guess, from looking at them from...
Yeah, so a company that I've been rather enamored with for a few years now, and excuse the language, but it is the name of the company. It's the toilet paper subscription company, Who Gives a Crap. Anyone who hasn't looked them up, go and look them up.
Why? What do they do?
They are brilliant. So first of all, they have taken a commodity purchase, toilet paper, and turned it into something with which you have a real values-driven commitment. I am my Who Gives a Crap toilet paper that lives in my bathroom with it has lovely wrapping on it that's got their logo on it. And I proudly display that in my bathroom because it says something about me and I'm really committed to it. So it's things like they use no plastic packaging. It's all bamboo. So there's a significant environmental impact part to what they're doing. 20% of their profits go into putting toilets into the developing world. And I never run out of toilet paper because it's on subscription and it turns up. So they've taken this commodity purchase, they've really run the values over it. And as a business model, subscription business model, it is phenomenal. And if I never have, and they're not a client of mine, I just admire them. If I were to run them through my diagnostic tool, they would be scoring green all over the place. They hit every note bang on every time.
Well, that's really interesting. Thank you very much, Bryony. That's the end of this episode then. Thank you for appearing on the podcast.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
That's it for this week. Do subscribe to the Brand Tuned newsletter to get weekly updates. I'd also love to get your feedback. Just send me an email to info@brandtune.com. Finally, if you liked the episode, please do share it with your friends and colleagues and review it on iTunes or whichever platform you use to listen to podcasts. If you leave us a 5-star review, it means more people will listen and we can spread the word much more quickly about the podcast. Thank you and bye for now.